Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion, and in this video I'll be talking about match 3 of IPL 2021, and this game being between the Kolkata Knight Riders and the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So this game was won in the end by the Kolkata Knight Riders and they won it by 10 runs. And so from the start, I don't know who won the toss, but KKR batted first, and the very first ball was driven for 4 by Nitish Rana of Bhuvneshwar Kumar's bowling. And so the innings, started off on a positive note, and KKR got off to a very good start with Shubman Gill kind of playing second fiddle and Nitish Rana really, playing his shots. And at one point, they were 44 without loss in 5 overs. Now, the reason why this happened is because both the swing bowlers up top, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Sandeep Sharma, could not, there wasn't really any swing around, and so they both do, being swing bowlers, they do rely on swing being there to be effective. And the thing is that Bhuvneshwar Kumar only gave 10 runs in his first 2 overs. But Sandeep Sharma, the fact that there wasn't swing kind of affected him a bit. And he honestly didn't have a great game in general because even at the death, he wasn't too great. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, it's like I think he only bowled 3 overs, but I'm saying that yeah, those 3 overs weren't exactly that great. And the thing is that yeah, he kind of struggled, and so KKR got to 44 without loss after 5 overs, and David Warner brought Rashid Khan on to get a wicket, and he did exactly that, bowling an over where he conceded 3 runs and took the wicket of Shubman Gill, who played kind of a blind hoik, and the off stump was uprooted, and Shubman Gill was dismissed for 15, and so. At the end of 8 overs, KKR were 64 for 1. And so considering the start that they got, I mean the Rashid Khan over was so important in making sure the Sunrisers still kind of had a grip on the scoring rate, because if the opposition have got a start, I mean you wouldn't mind if they're going at 8 and over after 8 overs, because it could have been worse. And so I felt that was a big thing in the Sunrisers being in the game at that point. And Rahul Tripathi walked in at 3. Now I thought Shakib Al Hasan would walk in at 3, considering that's what they kind of played him for, because if you see until towards the end of last season, you saw when KKR were experimenting with this pinch hitter approach, you saw that top three hasn't been very stable, and until the end of last season when Nitish Rana went to open the batting, they didn't really find that stability for a few games, and so the thing is, Shakib Al Hasan, I feel, was kind of brought to provide that spinning option as an alternative to Sunil Narayan. In fact, by playing him, I still feel that they lost out on Sunil Narayan, the bowler. But providing this accomplished number 3, and the thing is, he bats at number 3 for Bangladesh in T20s and ODIs, and so I thought that he would walk out at number 3. But the thing is that Rahul Tripathi does like to score, and he's in this side as a floater, and so like Harsha Bogle says, good teams are teams of 10, and you have one floater, and in this team, Rahul Tripathi is that floater, and he could walk in, based on the situation, and so I think that they kind of thought, look, right, so Shakib Al Hasan isn't someone who would try and go hard straight away, and the thing is, SRH are a team that does not like to chase big totals generally. I mean, look, they rely on their reputable players to stand up, and otherwise it's kind of bust for them. And so it's like, they kind of saw the opportunity with a good start for KKR to go hard. And so with someone who also, I mean, again, he doesn't go straight away, but he does look to score more than Shakib does. And so Rahul Tripathi and Nitish Rana, who is playing an aggressive role, they maybe would have thought that it would have worked well, and it did. It worked very well because Rahul Tripathi scored an excellent 53 of 28, and Nitish Rana, all in all, I think he scored an 80. And the thing is, was that there was especially when this partnership got into its full flow, around just over the 100 mark, for example. I mean, SRH didn't look in control of the game at all. And I remember this sixth that Rahul Tripathi smashed off Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who also didn't have the greatest of games. After conceding 10 runs in his first 2 overs, he conceded 35 runs in his next 2. And so, yeah, he kind of got hit around a bit at the death. And so then Rahul Tripathi got out, and then Andre Russell came in. Now, I was actually thinking that because Natarajan was bowling then, so I was thinking Natarajan's a left arm seamer. So the thing is that we've seen so the left, he was bowling from around the wicket, and we've seen Lasith Malinga bowling around the wicket to Andre Russell, getting him caught behind. Mustafizur Rahman in the World Cup taking it across him and getting him caught at slip. Uh, and also Arshdeep Singh from the youngster who debuted last season for Kings 11 Punjab also got Andre Russell caught behind after taking the ball across him, and so I thought that you know the gut feel was that Natarajan would go for the Yorker, and he did. And the thing is, after bowling, hitting the right lengths, but kind of bowling the wrong line out up first. I thought that he went pretty well. And then Rashid Khan came in, and Andre Rasuaki hit it pretty well, but it was an excellent catch by I think Manish Pandey, because the ball was kind of swerving a bit, and he really had to judge it. I thought it was an excellent catch from him, and Andre Russell, he got out for 5. Now, then afterwards, Owen Morgan came in, and so again, he didn't really do much because he hit a few singles, and then Mohammad Nabi actually this is I think in the same over that Nitish Rana got out, and I was actually very surprised that they bowled Mohammad Nabi in that situation, considering he really had looked off color in the other overs that he had bowled, in the other 3 overs that he had bowled. But he kind of bowled one in the block hole to Nitish Rana first up, and Nitish Rana was looking for the big shot, and he got caught in the end. And then Mohammad Nabi kind of got lucky with the Owen Morgan wicket. He bowled one that was fired down the leg side, and Owen Morgan he hit the ball straight into kind of deep backwards square leg, and so Mohammad Nabi in the end, kind of the over yielded 3 runs and 2 wickets were obtained, and so SRH at this point, you kind of thought KKR's innings was petering out a little bit, and it was a bit of an underwhelming. It seemed like, considering this progression, it seemed like a very underwhelming end to the innings. But Dinesh Karthik came in and showed his class. I mean, as I said, last season it was like this. So when they played him higher up the order, he got out, and when they actually played him in a situation that he's comfortable with, he scores runs. The thing is, he wasn't out of form, even though he didn't score many runs, because if you actually see when he got a chance to play in a role he's comfortable with, being a finisher, he played very well, and today was no different. You've seen the thing that he does. He moves across his off stump and tries to find the gaps on the leg side, and he used that to very good effect when he hit that 6 off Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and in the end KKR got 187 for 6. And so again, they would have wanted to get a bit more considering the partnership for the second wicket, but they would have still been pretty happy with it, considering that Sunrisers, the batting isn't exactly their strongest suit after their reputable players. And so they walked in, and Harbhajan Singh, this is the only over that he bowled in the innings, and he bowled the first over, and clearly this was a plan to David Warner to bowl the right arm off spin, and honestly Warner should have been out for a duck, but Pat Cummins dropped a catch that really should have been caught, and so Warner got a reprieve, and it was the only over that Harbhajan Singh actually bowled in the innings, and it was the first over. And David Warner got out in the end of an absolute jaffa from Prashid Krishna. It pitched on the stumps and nipped away a little bit, and it really cramped Warner for room, squared him up. It was an excellent delivery, and he got Warner out. And getting Warner out in a Sunrisers chase. I mean, it's almost like half the job being done. Except at this time, Johnny Bairstow. Now we see him bat at number 4 for England. He batted at number 4 for Sunrisers, and I was actually happy that they included him instead of Kane Williamson, because they probably did need that, because you see Kane Williamson, as I said, he doesn't score a blistering strike rate. He scores around 150. Let's say you saw last year when the IPL was in the UAE, he found a way to get not blisteringly quick runs, but quick runs, and get his team to a decent total. Whereas in this case, Vidhiman Saha got out. It was I think it was Shakib Al Hasan, the first ball that he bowled, and it was too close to cut, and he chopped it on. And SRH I think was 7 for 2, and were really they were 11 for 2 after 3 overs, and chasing 187, you can't be 11 for 2 after 3 overs, and so they needed someone like a Johnny Bairstow to play the innings that he did. And Manish Pandey was also, playing very well, scored an excellent 50. But I'll go to Manish Pandey in a bit, because Johnny Bairstow was kind of the real aggressor. Manish Pandey was still scoring at a good strike rate, with playing second fiddle. And as long as these two were at the crease, anything could happen. Because I thought that KKR, and I'll get to KKR's bowling in a bit, because I definitely thought that, the reason why they picked Pat Cummins is because, to play, as I've referred to in the past, a fairly one-dimensional role where he bowls in the power play, where the ball's moving around even for a few balls, and he can get wickets. And even if he doesn't get wickets, he won't give more than 19 runs in his first 3 overs if he bowls 3 out of 6 in the power play. And so I thought that would be the role, but then if you see, Harbhajan Singh bowled the first over, then Prasidh Krishna bowled the second over, and so it was a while before Pat Cummins actually got to bowl. And however, I thought that he really bowled into the pitch and cramped the batsman up for room, and it worked very well. And the thing is, it would still be interesting to see, if the pitch isn't slow and it's slightly quicker and he doesn't get the new ball. It'll be interesting to see what kind of variations he uses, because I do feel like, death bowling is not his strongest suit. And you saw in his first game for KKR in 2020, you saw Dinesh Karthik kind of used him in the middle phase, and he got absolutely smashed for 49 runs in 3 overs. And he didn't even bowl his full quota in the end. He's supposed to be the lead bowler in the side. And so I felt that Pat Cummins, considering on what was on offer on the pitch, and he's bowling very fast as well when he was bowling in the kind of this middle over spells. He's bowling, into the mid 140s. And yeah, I thought that he actually bowled excellently, because, seeing that he didn't get the new ball, seeing what the pitch offers, and seeing that, he has the qualities, and he has the pace, and he has the consistency to execute his plans and really make, life for the batsman uncomfortable. And considering that he has, the record against Johnny Bairstow, I think Johnny Bairstow scored 12 runs off 19 balls and he got out twice. However, that was against Pat Cummins with the new ball. And so I was thinking that, how would this go now when Johnny Bairstow is, he's not facing his first ball against Pat Cummins. He has faced other bowlers before him, and so I kind of thought he'd kind of take to Pat Cummins a bit. But Pat Cummins, responded by bowling into the pitch, and it was a very good plan, because the pitch was kind of two-paced. Some balls were skidding on, and the other balls were kind of stopping a little bit, and so that was on him. Was very good. And as long as Bairstow and Pandey were in, I thought SRH would definitely win the game. But Bairstow got out, and it was a wrong time to get out. And, after that, Mohammad Nabi came in at 5. And honestly, by this point, it was getting a little bit too much, because Manish Pandey's scoring rate had, slowed down. And it kept on getting further and further away from them. I mean, in the end, I look at, sometimes they didn't about 67 off 26 balls, and you think, well, they lost by 10 runs, so they've actually not done badly at all. And the thing is, then Mohammad Nabi got out, and by this point it was kind of, you kind of thought they were gonna lose. And I was actually very surprised by the next move, because instead of Abdul Samad, who we've seen, hit established bowlers like Bumrah and Nokia for sixes, just when he's first facing them, without anyone having any kind of expectation. And you saw the innings, the role he played in qualifier 2, when him and Kane Williamson were giving Sunrisers hope that they could beat Delhi Capitals, especially after David Warner got out early after an excellent yorker from Kagiso Rabada. And so we've seen what he could do in the 2020 season. And I honestly thought they would send him out at number 6, but they sent Vijay Shankar out. And despite the fact that he hit a 6, I mean, he isn't a player who can hit, straight away out of the blocks, which is what was required in that situation. And so he hit a 6, but then he got out. And Abdul Samad, when Pat Cummins, he's facing Pat Cummins, and in his first ball he hits him for 6, and then he hits him another 6 for another 6 in the same over, and in his first 3 balls he gets 14. So I honestly thought that maybe if they'd sent Abdul Samad earlier than Vijay Shankar, they may not have won the game, but it may have been a closer margin than 10 runs. Now, Sunrisers got outplayed in this game. In fact, yeah, they got pretty outplayed in this game. And the thing is the bowling didn't exactly fire, and the batting, it was, you've seen games like this where, in big chases, if the big players get out at the wrong time, even after doing well like Johnny Bairstow did, they don't really, the innings just peters out, and they lose the game in the end. And so Sunrise kind of got outplayed a bit today. Now you could say they do lose. It is usual for them to lose their first games, but like the first game especially. But the thing is that there's a difference between saying that for Mumbai Indians and the difference between saying that for Sunrisers. Now, the Mumbai Indians against RCB and even the Mumbai Indians against CSK, could you say that they were outplayed? No, you couldn't, because against RCB, what, like 1 off 1 required. So even then, they scored 159 and they gave such a good, fist of it. And against CSK, they did get an early wicket, and CSK played very well, and Mumbai made sure that they were in the game, despite the fact that they, a few times they didn't exactly bowl to the field, but you never had any concerns. Whereas I'm not saying there's a concern for Sunrisers, because I still do think that they'll qualify at that fourth spot, but it's just that they got outplayed, and we've seen a lot of the time for Sunrisers where the batting has not been able to find the answers outside of the established players. And Manish Pandey, you saw his strike rate. It says 61 of 44, but in reality, his strike rate kind of dropped, and even then he couldn't find the boundary at the end. Especially you saw of Andre Russell. Yes, he hit a six off the last ball, but Andre Russell was actually also bowling very well from around the wicket, taking it across Manish Pandey, bowling wide Yorkers and Yorkers at the stumps as well. And so it was very good from Andre Russell, who bowled very quick today. Especially, he had a good start where he kind of hurried Johnny Bairstow up, whereas his first over in the end resulted in it being a bit expensive, because he kind of stuck to the same ball one too many times, and Johnny Bairstow just kind of, he expected the ball to kind of be halfway down the pitch. And he dealt with it. He scored, I think he hit a six, and he also swatted the ball in the same over through mid wicket for four. And yeah, apart from that, Andre Russell at the death, he bowled very well, as I said, with full, Yorkers on the stumps and wide Yorkers. And in the end, SRH lost the game by 10 runs. Now on KKR. So KKR's batting looks very assured, I have to say. I mean, now that they've got Shakib Al Hasan at 3, and they've got a comfortable opening partnership and a very able floater in Rahul Tripathi, I think their batting is fine, honestly. It's just their bowling. Now, if you look at the resources that KKR have, it is worth being happy about, because you see Prasidh Krishna, who plays for India now. You look at Pat Cummins. You see the other bowlers who weren't playing today, like Shivam Mavi, Nagar Koti. You look at Kuldeep Yadav, and today, conditions based wise, the experience of Harbhajan Singh. And Andre Russell, if he bowls like he did today, I mean, still, I don't think he'll be able to bowl 4 overs consistently in the tournament, but maybe even 2 or 3 max, I would say, would be fine. Because I still think him being a third seamer would mean that he'd have to bowl 4 overs, which I'm not sure how they're going to manage, but we'll see how that goes. And so there is some good things to work with, but the problem is this. You look at their paces, and this is the issue. So you look at their Pat Cummins, Prasidh Krishna, and then you look at Shivam Mavi and Kamlesh Nagarkoti. Now you look at this and say, which one of those is a white ball natural? None of them. Because you do see they are all red ball bowlers. Pat Cummins plays a very one-dimensional role. I know he bowled pretty well today, but that's because, the pitch, the conditions suited that plan. And if you bowled in somewhere like a typical Mumbai track where, the ball comes on really quickly onto the bat, and if he didn't get the new ball, then what variation would he have actually gone to? Because he's not a bowler that has many variations, to be honest with you. So I still expect him to play a very one-dimensional role, and probably from the next game still, open the bowling. And so that's on Pat Cummins. You see also, Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi. They also at times are a bit expensive. They are Red Bull bowlers, and then again, they don't really have the variations that much anyway. And Prasidh Krishna, who's also a Red Bull bowler, and these are all, as you can see here, or you can tell, these are all very exciting bowlers. I mean, it's good to watch when they bowl, but they do leak runs. And Pat Cummins, when he bowls 3 overs in the power play, I think that's fine, but the others do leak runs, and so that's why I'm saying that you see none of these bowlers, despite the fact how good they aren't white ball naturals. And if you look at this, that the attack seems a little bit placid, because you look at Shakib Al Hasan, and what you can't really count as the spinners that the other teams have. You can't really put Shakib Al Hasan in that category. He isn't bad by any means. He's a very intelligent bowler, but he isn't like those spinners, and he's probably playing like more of a batsman. And so, and yeah, as I said, Andre Russell is, you probably can't bowl him for 4 overs every single game, and playing him as a third seamer every single game, especially and also expecting him to finish the innings, is a bit difficult, and I'm not sure that he'll be able to play that role kind of sustainably. So it's that KKR have the resources, but they don't necessarily, the four bowlers, the four seamers that I mentioned aren't necessarily white ball naturals. And there's one white ball natural, but he's sitting on the bench, and that's Lockie Ferguson. And the thing is, I've said this before, Lockie Ferguson, in my view, is the hardest bowler to hit in the world. And you look at Pat Cummins today, he tried to hit the pitch. Now, if you want to bowl short, why wouldn't you just play Lockie Ferguson? I mean, surely they knew that. Surely this would have been a plan that Harbhajan Singh was gonna bowl to David Warner, and what, like, you don't suddenly switch and say Prasidh Krishna is gonna bowl the second over. You have to have that in your mind, because on a usual day, so to speak, of course Pat Cummins would at least bowl with the newish ball at the second over, even if he doesn't open the bowling, because as I said, he's that good with the new ball. And so surely they would have kind of thought this beforehand, that okay, they were gonna really try, and whatever they were gonna do, they were gonna try and get a lot of runs. And considering that they're batting first, surely they would have thought, let's get a lot of runs and then do this. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if you weren't actually gonna bowl Pat Cummins, from the first over, what's the point of actually playing him in this game? Because you could have just bowled Lockie Ferguson, you would have been able to bowl short. And honestly, with the searing Yorkers that he bowls as well at 150, he would have been incredibly difficult to get away at the death as well. And so yeah, they could have done that. But the reason why they are playing Pat Cummins is because Lockie Ferguson isn't exactly a wicket taker. And that's the thing why I said this attack looks placid, because if Pat Cummins doesn't take wickets, not many people do. It's kind of a very sporadic spread of wickets. And this is something that KKR, despite the fact they have the resources and also not playing Kuldeep as well, they're probably going to have to deal with this problem for, the whole season. And yeah, that's on these two teams. It's just that KKR, their batting looks very strong, and they, in this one game, they look. I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but I would still say this: they look better in this one game than they did all season last time around. And I honestly don't think that they'll kind of just be, last season, they were probably the worst team to watch out of everyone, and they didn't finish last, but they were the worst team to watch out of everyone. And so this team this year, straight away by this one game, and even from the auction, I thought, some very intelligent picks. And so I don't think it will be like that this season. I feel that, they will finish in that third place, SRH finishing fourth, DC second, and MI first. And the others just finish how they please. And so that's my prediction for, this year's table. And yeah, let's see how it goes. And SRH kind of have a bit to think about, because here's the thing with SRH. So, and this isn't there for any other team. And so you look at people tinkering with their team, making tactical changes. Now, the response to this game was saying, why didn't you play Williamson? Now, let's be completely honest, they benefited from Bairstow being at 4 than Williamson being at 4. Because if Williamson had taken, what, like, let's say a few balls to get going, they wouldn't have even got to the position that they got to at the end of their innings. And so Bairstow playing at 4, especially considering he plays at 4 for England in their T20 team, which is filled with big hitters as well, you know, it was the right decision to play Bairstow at 4. And, I was actually very happy that they didn't fall into the trap of, playing Williamson. Not that he's a bad player by any means, but it's just that, for this team, especially if you want to kind of break it up. And so the thing is that Warner, Saha, Manish Pandey kind of playing that, he isn't a kind of a slam bang player. So playing Williamson after him would it probably wouldn't bode well for the scoring rate, despite the fact they would catch up afterwards. What the overs that are lost are lost. And so that's why, I'm happy that they played Johnny Bairstow. But the thing is that if you play Williamson and if you keep Bairstow in the team, you can't not play Nabi, because two reasons. Williamson can't bat at any place below number 4 for me. And not can't bat, but I'm saying as far as strike rate is concerned, so on, and getting enough time to settle in. And also, it's that, look, Mohammad Nabi is part of the 5 bowlers. You can't put Kane Williamson as part of the 5 bowlers. And so there are two things straight away it's just ruled out. And so you could say Sunrisers, it's weird because, they are spoiled for choice with their overseas players. Yet, 3 players are, or at least 2 players are a sure shot. And I think Bairstow should be a sure shot as well. And so it will kind of be a toss-up between Mohammad Nabi and Jason Holder depending on conditions. And apart from that, their hands are tied. I mean, they can't really do much else. I mean, why would you actually take Johnny Bairstow out? Because he scored a 50 today and he helps the dynamic of your team so much. And so, yeah, that's my view on them. And tomorrow is RR and KXIP, Punjab Kings, sorry. And let's see how that game goes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?